Life is in a stream. The ocean called for you and me. Still, I'm in this game, but without my closest friend. It's leaving now. I waited here, but nothing came. So I close my eyes, 'cause you reflect in everything.
Welcome to Lunch Therapy with your host, Joe Marshall.
Hey everybody, welcome to Lunch Therapy. I'm your host Joel Marshall. Today we're going to have a really fantastic show for you because we have Jake O'Flaherty here. He's an actor, he's a coach, he works in the agenting department of a commercial agency as well. So we're going to get a lot of inside scoop. He's somebody who's on I don't know if you know the app Clubhouse, but he's on panels in Clubhouse a lot. So we're going to talk about the Hollywood acting industry. We're going to have some fun, and there's going to be a contest. Yeah, hopefully we'll get to the contest. Hoy Todd Lee, hoity ho hump away day. Yeah, it's hump day. Hump day is usually pretty fun, so we're going to have a good time here today. And we're out in space. In the intro to the show, there was a crazy graphic about going out into the universe. On Friday, we're going to have Cynthia Levin on, hilarious comedian, known throughout the land for her comedy styling. She's going to be on for Interview Friday. Also next week, I think we're going to have Seattle's own John Keister from Almost Live fame, the creator and the host of that. We had Pat Cashman on the show a few weeks back, and that was a riot. So we're going to have John Keister on, so that's super cool. Great contest today, which is part 2 of another contest we had a couple of weeks ago, which this is going to feature the work of Charles Brogdon, who is this amazing person, and I don't want to tell you about it until we get there. And we're going to have another meditation at the top of the show. So let's get into it. It is Lunch Therapy. Hoy guy fly, how's your eye? I think it's a pathology of mine not pronouncing Cynthia Levin's name properly. I don't know what's wrong with me with that. But I thought I pronounced it properly. But it's different every time I say it. Today, we're going to do a meditation. We did a meditation last time. It was a little rough. Today, it's going to be even better. It's a meditation where I'm going to take you on a little bit of a walk to your favorite place. We like to breathe at the top of the show. 3 deep breaths. So the first breath, in through the nose, out through the toes. Let it go. Thanks, Ganelle, for helping me. I'm going to practice her name all the way to Friday, but I think it's a mental block. I think it's a psychological problem, clearly. So here we go. This is going to be the meditation. Smoke them if you got them. I don't know what I'm talking about. I have my guest in the waiting room. All right. In through the nose, out through the toes. Hold it. Let it go. Today, we take a walk together. You and me. Today, we go together to a place, your place. I want you to visualize with your eyes closed. Close your eyes now, as long as you're not driving. The happiest moment of your entire existence. Visualize the happiest moment of your entire existence on this planet. Where are you? What's the weather like where you are? Is there a breeze? Is there a lot of noise? Or is there a lot of stillness? Taking another deep breath in through the nose, out through the toes. Hold it. Let it go. Begin paying attention to even the smallest details that you can notice. Any smell or a sight that stands out in this place. Slowly begin to notice how this place is making you feel. Are you happy, excited, content? Focus on this feeling and gently wrap your arms around it, like an embrace. Hold the feeling tight and feel its warmth on your cheek. Still holding onto this good feeling, continue breathing. Deep breaths in through the nose, out through the toes. Slowly open your eyes and allow the feeling to morph into you so that you can take this happy place wherever you go today. All right, today we've got Jake O'Flaherty here on the show. I think I'm pronouncing his name correctly. Jake,
Yes,
first.
you
Yes,
are.
thank you. I got confirmation. Jake is first and foremost an actor. He has been seen on Showtime's Shameless, Criminal Minds, Dr. Ken, Weeds, Days of Our Lives. He's also a coach. He coached some great people like Ken Jeong for The Hangover 2 and 3, Pain and Gain, Despicable Me. He coached him on all those things. And everybody knows that guy's hilarious. He also works in the commercial casting. Basically, he works for an agency, helping actors get jobs. So we're going to find out, what that's like these days in this commercial climate. He also started a thing called Dead Pilots Society that I want him to talk about at the Whitefire Theater. So let's get into this thing. I just want to see who's here. I see Guignel is here, of course. Breathe him if you got him. Charles is here. Chuck, light them up to share. They're really bonging out in there. Traditional invitation to the spiritual teacher. Smoke them if you got them. That was a good one. Nice meditation, Brother Joel. Yeah, so we're working on the meditation. I'm not a licensed anything, as you know. Great meditation. I don't believe you could come up with one greatest experience. I don't believe you could come up with one greatest experience. Me? I know, I got so many great experiences. Exactly. Don't we all? Joel, weren't you into Despicable Me? I actually did a Despicable Me extra for the DVD, but it was too funny. Steve Carell saw it and he was like, we can't have this in here because that's going to just ruin it for everybody. No, actually what it was it was a news thing. I was a newscaster, sort of like Stephen Colbert, and it was hilarious because I was reporting on how all these despicable monsters were coming and attacking the world, and they didn't like the way it made the little monsters seem. They thought it was kind of threatening, so they cut the whole thing. I never saw it, but it was super fun. So now, after that incredible anecdote, Hollywood crazy story, no license required. Let's get into it. We got Jake here. Let's bring him on for a little bit of Interview Wednesday. There he is, Jake. So great
Hey everybody,
to see you.
how are you?
Yeah, All right. Let's see. So Jake is here. He's been gracious enough to show up on our show here today, and he's looking great. And he's here on Hoimp Day, which is a really, really good day to be here. Jake.
Yes, sir.
How did you get into this crazy industry? What brings you here to Hollywood? Where are you from? Set us up. Tell us all about yourself.
Okay. I grew up in Florida.
Yeah.
Okay. But I was actually born in San Juan, Puerto Rico. Lived there for a few years. Dad was an FBI agent.
No.
So that's where he was stationed. Yeah. So I grew up out there. And then we moved to Tampa, Florida. And then I went to college in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Uh-huh.
And I decided after college I was just going to pack my bags and head out to LA and be an actor.
You did.
Yeah.
You just got in the car and went.
I did. I do not advise that anymore to people. But yeah, that was it. So I did
Really?
not know anybody when I came to LA. I did not know anything. Wow. I was not an actor in college. I wasn't even in the theater club.
Really?
So it was just kind of a passion and a dream of mine, but I never really got to have it instilled in any way until I came to Los Angeles. I was the stage manager in the mask club at high school. So I got, some great training that way, but not on the stage.
What did you call it? A mask club?
That's what they called it in high school, the mask club. Yeah.
First of all, it's hard to say, mask club. But
right.
Second of all, is that like happy, sad masks like that?
Exactly.
The theater masks?
The whole.
You know what they call that in LA? They call that laugh now, cry later. Have you ever seen people that have like tattoos of those masks on their arms or on their back or something like that? It's called laugh now, cry later. Yeah. Just a little
There's a lot of that in this business.
There's a lot of that. So it is crazy to come out here cold like that. I know a lot of people, get a job before they come here, like an acting job, and it brings them to Los Angeles. Like a lot of Chicago actors or a lot of New York actors. Coming out here cold is just very difficult, isn't it?
It is. And like I said, I wouldn't recommend it. I literally, found my apartment for $500 a month off of Van Ness and Sunset.
Yeah.
Next door to the Midas Muffler and across the street from the Denny's.
Perfect.
I
know
it's
that.
actually the building in the opening scene of Pulp Fiction when John Travolta and Samuel Jackson go to the apartment building with the three guys who have the briefcase with what's inside and the whole amazing scene before they terminate all three of the guys.
Yeah.
That was my apartment building where I lived. Wow. And it was an old hotel from the 1920s that they converted into an apartment building. So it was really nice because it was really big studio efficiencies, walk-in closets, and you had an actual kitchen with a dining room area and an amazing view of the city. But, there was also a lot of illegal activity going on in the area because it was on this little side street and the freeway was on the other side. So there was, you wanted to get out of town really quickly and jump on the exit ramp back onto the 101. You could do that.
You could do your crimes and then hit the road.
Right, exactly. Which, of course, never occurred to me. I just saw $500 a month, all utilities included.
Yeah,
that's a great deal. Welcome to Hollywood, baby. This is great.
I did the same thing. I moved right into Hollywood because I was like, I got to live in Hollywood. So I was like on Whitley off Hollywood Boulevard, and apparently the street that's near there, Yucca, is like one of the most drug trafficked streets, or it used to be at least at that time, in the world. And there would be like gunshots out my window and all that stuff. But I was like, I'm living the dream.
We all were. I'm being diplomatic because, it literally, like, oddly enough, the prostitutes that used to work the main strip off of like Fairfax and Sunset.
Yeah.
Kind of in the time when what's his name was, busted, Hugh Grant and all of that. Yeah. They actually all lived in my apartment building.
Really?
And they would just walk down Sunset to Fairfax from Van Ness and pick up business along the way or whatever. Because there was like two apartments that were right next to each other on one of the floors, and there were like 6 women in each room, and there was always
Yeah.
But the owner he just rented to whoever, and none of that mattered. And for me, it was all part of the charm of Hollywood.
Yes, of course, of course. Now, did you, at the time when you hit Hollywood, did you just start doing theater, or did you start auditioning, or was it, what did you do?
Well, right away, I knew I had to get a job, and everybody was waiting tables. So that's
Yeah.
what I did. I found a job waiting tables. And then I figured, my extensive research, which wasn't much, was that you get a job waiting tables and it's full of actors. So
Yeah.
I started asking questions to my fellow actors, hey, where do you take an acting class? What do you think? Where should I go? And that's when I heard names like Samuel French, which was an acting bookstore that was famous, as, closed during COVID. And, this acting coach here and this acting coach there. And I said, okay, great. This is putting together my information. I was fortunate to get the job at Jerry's Famous Deli.
Oh, you did? You worked there? Really?
Yes. So, it was a huge, famous, recognizable restaurant across the street from Cedars-Sinai Hospital, right in the heart of West Hollywood and Beverly Hills. And it was the who's who, of where to go.
Andy Kaufman worked at the one in the Valley.
Yes.
Even when he was doing Taxi, apparently. Have you heard that?
He was. I did, actually, because
people would be like, hey, aren't you on Taxi? And he'd be like, I don't know what you're talking about. He was a busboy.
They actually trained us at the Studio City location. So on my first day of training, I heard about that story.
Did you?
And the other waitresses who had been there for years and years were showing me pictures to prove it. So it was Andy actually in the kitchen doing dishes, serving tables.
Yeah.
They had pictures of his time card, all the proof.
I love that story.
And had done interviews. So it's very true.
Wow.
And, they trained me there. And then the day we had the earthquake in 1994 in January. And so we got delayed a couple of days of training, and then they moved me out to the Beverly Hills location. And that's when I started waiting tables. But, within the first week, I met actor and acting coach John Kirby, who's famous. His brother is Bruno Kirby, the famous actor. Yeah. His dad, Bruce Kirby, was a huge character actor. And John was like, well, I teach a class. You should come and audit one and see what you think. And that's what I did. And he was amazing. And so he was my first acting coach. And I jumped in there on his classes on Las Palmas, which is still going. Amazing job. And then, I got it. It's a really great story, but I'll make it quick.
Yeah.
Because I was literally like every day, one table would be Lenny Kravitz. Another table would be Carol Burnett. The other table would be Faye Dunaway. The other table would be David Hasselhoff.
Really?
The other table would be Suge Knight.
Wow.
Like, this was literally who I was waiting on every night because for whatever reason, I was a good waiter. Okay. Even though honestly, I had never waited tables before. And they put me in the front section. So it was kind of like the who's who, right? Everybody could see you as you're coming in. You're in that first group of 5 to 10 tables, and they would put me there. So that was my station. Yeah. So, I'm getting used to all these people and just, wow, the tips are great and it's cash and they're famous and David Spade and, Ronnie Chasen was the most famous agent at the time before, unfortunately, she was murdered.
Oh, I didn't know
in a
about
big
that.
famous deal. Yes,
I don't know that story.
Somebody shot her out of nowhere in her Mercedes coming off of Vermont Avenue from a restaurant.
I remember hearing about that. Did they ever figure out who did it? No.
They did not. But she, I mean, the smallest deal she ever made for an actor was, like $3 million. So they feel like somehow it was industry related. Somebody was looking for revenge for a deal that went wrong. Yeah. But these were the kind of people I was dealing with. So one day, this amazing character actor comes in named Chuck McCann. Now, he started back in the days of Sid Caesar and all this stuff. He's been around forever.
Yeah.
Right? But my generation grew up on him as one of the Laurel and Hardy characters in the Sizzler commercials. Right? And he was the big guy. Sizzler. Right? So that's how I knew him.
Yeah.
And then next, he's like, oh, you're so funny. You're such a nice guy. You're a great waiter. You're good. Yeah. Hollywood is your chance. You've got a great personality. It's just nice to hear somebody who's a veteran of the industry tell you you're not a moron.
Yeah.
You might have a chance at any of this, And the next day he comes in with John Kirby, my acting teacher, was like, this is John Kirby. Yeah. So they all started to connect very quickly. The universe started providing for me. And I said, well, yeah, I'll jump into John Kirby's class. And, that worked out. And then after a couple months in John Kirby's class, he came back in for dinner one night with Chuck. And Chuck's like, well, I hear you're doing great in John's class. I want to introduce you to my wife. She's an agent. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. But at that point, I've met a lot of the people on the cusp of the business, and the people are like, oh, here's my card. And I'm amazing.
Right, of course.
You never know what to expect. So
Yeah.
she came in a few days later with him to have some soup one night. And we're talking, and Faye Dunaway's right across from her and him having dinner. And she's being wonderful, of course.
Yeah.
Frustrated with her corned beef sandwich. So I was like, Faye, hold on there, all right? Miss Chinatown and everything.
Yeah.
All right, we got to hold on to your statues, your awards, and I'll be back with the leaner corned beef in a minute.
Yeah.
And she loved it, though. She was very gracious and very funny, and she thought I was funny, which was important in the story.
Of course.
And meanwhile, we're done. She goes home, and Chuck says, this is my wife. I'd like you to meet her. And I say, hi, how are you? And Betty, nice to meet you. And when we're done, she hands me her business card and says, so Chuck speaks very highly of you. And I hear you're in a great acting class with John Kirby. And I run the commercial department at the William Morris Agency. And I'd like you to come in and have an interview with me tomorrow.
Wow. Biggest agency in town at the time.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? Yeah, because at that point I had a non-union agency named Liana Fields, who was actually based down in San Diego, and I had actually booked at that point in a very short amount of time, maybe 3 or 4 non-union commercials very quickly.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh my God, this is like the pinnacle. And I went in, I had the meeting, we talked, and I left with a contract.
You
I
did?
couldn't believe it. And I did, and my whole world changed.
That is quite a trick too, to go from waiting tables straight to the William Morris Agency. Usually there's a long road.
I kept waiting tables because that's what she told me. Jake, keep waiting tables. Yeah. She's like, save 20% of every single check that comes in. She's like, and act like it's not there. Yeah. She's because Smart. It's this is going to be a big step for you, but you need to book the jobs first, and it's going to take a while. Don't give it up. And I didn't. I kept that restaurant job for almost 2 years. I was kind of working weekends only after a while because I started booking commercials about, I want to say within 3 months. I went from auditioning like once a week to about 2 times a day with William Morris. And then, so, my numbers are climbing and things are getting better, and I started getting callbacks right away and so forth. And then, I booked, and the first commercial I booked was for the Weather Channel, which in those days they were advertising on national network to make you go to the cable channel. Yeah. And an amazing director who hired a bunch of us. And at that point I had jumped into another class with groundlings. So if you had groundlings on your resume, this director wanted you in his commercial. Yeah. And so I was like, wow, I think I'm following a pretty good path here. So
it seems like great. It. One of the things that people, and it might be good that you came here without training, because a lot of times people, when they get training, like they get a degree in acting or a master's degree in acting, they come to Los Angeles and they don't put themselves in a class. Right. Because it's actually, that's the way you get yourself into the society of acting and get known among at least your peers, is by taking an acting class. And then also you want to be training all the time. And so some people don't do that, and they never get themselves kind of integrated in it. And the way also you're just an outgoing person, I take it, right? Yes. So like if you wait tables, you're going to meet people.
Right. The weird thing as an artist, and I think a lot of us have this as artists, is I'm clear that my muscle that I need is being an extrovert, especially when I'm doing things like this, or I'm on stage with the theater, or on set, or even in the audition process. I need to be extroverted, friendly, kind, outgoing. All of these things are important. But the truth is, when I'm home, I'm an introvert. I just shut down. I don't need to talk on the phone. Yeah. I don't need constant noise around me. I'm very easy reading a book. Studying for my, master's degree. I went back to school here for the first time in 30 years. So,
that's brave.
I'm doing 5 hours a night of schoolwork.
Oh my God. I don't know how you do it.
But that's how I do it, because it creates its own zen for me. Yeah. Just peace and calm and quiet. I have my place to focus. I don't need a lot of people around me, and I don't need a lot of noise. So I have that juxtaposition throughout my day, and I need it every day, really, to kind of
Recharge.
survive, I think. Yeah, and recharge.
Yeah. You're also working for an agency now, helping other
I am.
actors get jobs. What have you learned from that process of actually doing the agenting part? What have you learned about it that other actors can know? You know, especially in this climate, because things are really different now.
Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
I was offered the job to work as Mary Dangerfield's assistant at Dangerfield Talent, which is an agency that's been around a long time,
Yeah.
but she never had a commercial department. And because at this point in my career, I had booked over 200 national commercials. I knew the casting directors. And so she came to me and said, listen, I need somebody to help me put the commercial department together, you know, to interview these potential clients and pick the right people and who know the casting directors and what they want and you know, to avoid the pitfalls here along the way. And I said, you know, this is a great side hustle job here, right? I get complete flexibility to do my auditions and to book jobs and, you know, do a play here and a voice over there or whatever I need to do. So I took the job, but of course the work was 100 times harder than I ever expected.
Is it?
Agents,
Yeah.
and oh my gosh.
They work their asses off.
It is. It's about a 10-hour day just in front of your computer.
Wow.
Because the submissions just keep coming in. And it's kind of a
All day?
clock tick on the side all day.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you wait until half of the day to come in, how's that going to happen? This is literally the situation. Your one breakdown that says, as my example, let's say, you know, young dad, any ethnicity, you know, 40 to 50. Okay. The casting director is only going to choose between 80 to 100 slots for that one breakdown character.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
But the average amount of submissions they receive is 3,000
Whoa.
from all agents.
3,000 and they take like 80.
Correct.
So you got to be
Between 80
fast, really fast.
Look, exactly. If you get the audition, you have already won that golden ticket from Willy Wonka just by
Right.
getting the audition.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can't wait till the later part of the day to do that submission because the odds are you're not going to get the slot.
It's like being a stockbroker or something like that. You're just like right on it the whole time.
I think so. And
Yeah.
in between, you've got phone calls, emails, and texts coming in from a casting director here, an actor there, a producer here. You know, we want to change the shoot dates here. I need them at a COVID testing across town tomorrow morning.
Oh, yeah, and that adds an extra thing. Yeah.
All of it. So you're stopping constantly to answer questions, you know, and then actors do things like, oh, here's my 550 headshots I just got taken from a photographer. Please look at them and make the choices for me.
You're like, no.
You're like, no.
I want to ask you something. How can actors help you? How can they help agents book jobs for them? Like, what are the things that they can do to help you?
It's a great question, and it's an important question because they need to remember it's a business of show. Okay. And so it's like having your own store on Melrose. Make sure that your LA casting account and your Actors Access accounts look great, meaning your headshots, which are thumbnail size, right, going to casting, are popping. The contrast of the background, the clothes you're wearing, layered colors, that has to catch the eye of the casting director in about 120 seconds when they're opening that screen, or you're over.
Are they looking at like a screen of like a whole bunch of headshots? Is that what they're looking at?
They are. Exactly.
Wow. And so it's just whatever grabs them?
So it's got to grab it. You got to grab their attention because then they'll click on that one picture, which takes them to the second screen of all your additional headshots on the left and your resume on the right.
Yeah.
Right. And then double checking your special skills and your training section, making sure everything kind of lines up according to the breakdown description. And then you get chosen for that audition. Wow. But in that 120 seconds, if all of this doesn't match up, doesn't catch their eye, you're out of luck. It's not going to happen.
Wow, that's interesting.
Right.
Do you recommend that actors have, you know how they have like very specific headshots, like they're wearing like a doctor's jacket and they have like a stethoscope? Do they have to do that kind of thing or what?
I think for commercial speaking only, I think it's okay if you have one of those character shot. That's fine.
Yeah.
Theatrically, you don't need them at all, really.
Yeah.
But commercially, you can. And you still, in our day, right before COVID, you would still walk in if you had your own lab coat,
Yeah.
kind of thing. Or if you had construction gear, you would, maybe have a tool belt or something with you. Minimal is always best when it comes to the props. Casting does not appreciate a lot of props.
Uh-huh.
And they usually, especially again in the commercial world, will provide the majority of the props that you need in the room in order to control the situation
Yeah.
and not have somebody show up with a fake gun or a surfboard,
Oh, God.
or a bow and
Scary.
arrow.
Yeah.
Some of these things, yeah.
But
They have
nowadays,
stories.
are most of the auditions on Zoom or something to that effect?
They are. 99% of all the commercial auditions right now are self-tape for step one, and the callbacks are via Zoom.
Wow.
Now, in this particular case of the commercial world, I think there is a good chance we're going to shift back to where it was because, and this is again my opinion based on my experience, the commercial casting directors like to have that opportunity in the room with the actor to have them redirected and adjustments made, which then can be edited on the tape. So everything is where they want it to be when the actor leaves the room. And then they can send that tape to the director, the producer, the advertising agency. Whereas the self-tapes, there's no control over that situation. You either have to do a good enough job in the self-tape in order to move it forward, or they can't use you at all, right? Because there's not enough time really to say, listen, I need you to redo your self-tape because you didn't do this, you could have done that better, the lighting's not good. There's just not really time in the commercial world. Everything moves so much faster.
Yeah.
Right?
What do you
In
recommend?
The theatrical world,
Oh, go
you can
ahead.
do that.
Yeah,
It's
theatrically.
Okay. Theatrical, your agents and your managers will get notice from the casting director for a TV or film saying, we need them to redo the self-tape, and here are the notes. Because the theatrical world works a little slower, and they know they've got 2 or 3 days before filming the TV show next week.
Yeah.
That type of thing.
Wow. What can actors do as far as their self-tapes to make sure that they, are at least not, irritating people on the other end, and they're giving them what they need to see? And, there's a lot of questions about, like, should I improvise like a button at the end? Should I stick to the script exactly? Should I, what's my background? Just anything you can give to actors that can help them would be really great.
I can give a lot. I mean, first of all, the framing. Let me adjust here.
Yeah.
When you're framing your self-tapes, leave as little room as possible above your head, because that's it. There's none of this, all this space, none of that. Okay.
Yeah.
So just leave a little bit of space above your head, and you really don't need to be any more, than below the waist. And you can even come up a little bit to like kind of the bottom of your rib cage type of thing, unless specified otherwise in the directions for a commercial. Wow. Right? So it's all about this space right here. They don't need to see the lamp and the dresser and the drape and the window and any of that.
Yeah.
Keep it, to a solid wall.
Yeah.
Keep it to your performance. Make sure the lighting is good and you don't hear the garbage truck beeping outside, right? Or your neighbors, talking about the Dodgers, or because this is the stuff that happens, right?
Yeah.
So that's it. The sound is quiet. The lighting is good, solid background wall, tight frame just above your head to just below the rib cage, right over here. That's the spacing in there. And then focus on the quality of the work and the instructions that are very specifically given. Because some say, slate your name, where you're living, your height. Some of them will, request showing hands, doing side profiles.
Really read those instructions, because that's going to be give you the clues that you need. Plus, you're going to have to provide those things. Otherwise, they're going to be like, next.
Yes, and that's exactly what's going to happen. You're going to get swiped right to the left, and they're never going to see the rest of your self-tape because you've already missed the introduction instructions that they required.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about your acting career now. Do you think this has helped you book jobs now because you're like on the other end as well? Yeah. Yeah,
especially for me since COVID because of the self-tape situation.
Yeah.
Because I was not a huge techie. And I'll be honest, I don't miss driving to Santa Monica
I don't
at 5
either.
o'clock for a callback.
I mean, like, when you have like a commercial audition, let's say, and there's like, 80 people trying out for this one thing, and you're going in and saying like one line or something like that.
Right.
You spend 3 hours driving to Santa Monica, to participate. It seems like so much easier. So a lot of actors, it's just like, I can't do it. You know what I mean? Because it's just such a numbers game. But since it's on Zoom, it makes it a lot more accessible for people, especially because, a lot of us we all have to have jobs because you can't sustain your career all the time on your acting jobs.
Right.
So it seems like it would be better to keep it this way, at least for actors, right?
I agree. And like I said, theatrically, I think the casting directors have realized how well this works, especially for co-star and guest star roles.
Yeah.
When you get into the higher guest star recurrings, they're going to request a self-tape as well, but they're going to do that in conjunction with your demo reel, showing your previous work and book you from that, I think, in a majority of the cases. But for commercials, for sure they're going to keep the self-tapes for a while, but I think even the callbacks may be back in the audition room so that the director can ask questions and the ad agency can have you physically do adjustments and, receive that redirection so that they're 100% clear of your personality and your charm, being in the room right there and knowing what they want. Yeah. The Zoom callbacks does not seem to be going as well as they had hoped for that. So, the disconnect sometimes between people's depending on where they're living, or what part of the house they're in. It sometimes their internet connections aren't so great. Yeah, there's delays, there's static. Sometimes they're shutting down. It can be a little bit of a frustrating process. So I don't know that I get that part is as successful.
But people are getting more and more savvy, though. It seems like we're going to get through this. People are going to actors in general are going to be just so much better with this stuff. I want to talk about this film that you made recently. You starred in, or you were in. It's called Red Pill. I'm going to show the trailer, and then let's talk about it. All right, here we go. We're down here.
We are a majority in this country. And we're going to win the election.
Oops.
Do you know what the red pill is? A red pill is someone who infiltrates a group and then destroys them from the inside. This place is spooky.
Some people like to live dangerously. Cass, why are you so jumpy tonight?
You know what, guys? I'm gonna go back tomorrow.
Did you hear about the creature woman that attacked a father and son hunting down here?
I don't see the case. This place creeps me out.
I think we should call the sheriff's office.
The only people missing or dead are brown people?
They're after all of us.
What do we do, Amelia?
We die. But we take some of them with us.
Whoa, that looks pretty intense. That looks scary.
Yeah. It is. I mean, I've been trying to get my mom to watch it because it was at one of the film festivals, and I, paid for the ticket and got her the whole. And the opening scene's kind of rough, so she was like, "Oh, I don't think I can do this."
Yeah.
And I said, "Okay, Mom, you're 80, you get a pass."
So is this is an independent film? I take it that someone has, and it's going around to the film festivals now.
It is.
It's great. Now, Red Pill. What does that mean? I mean, I think of it as like the Matrix.
Right. And that's it. That's the concept. It's, the, like she says, she kind of announces it in the beginning of the film, the red pill is different for everybody. But in this case, it's, the film's about systemic racism in this country, and how easily it's connected with politics.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is, really interesting thing, is this was written and directed by Tony Award winner Tanya Pinkins. Okay. She's a big deal. She's a series regular on Gotham, Walking Dead, lots and lots of shows. And again, she's, a huge Broadway star.
Yeah.
And this, she wanted to get this film done.
There's some good actors in this thing.
Yeah. I mean, Reuben Blades, who you first saw in the first scene, he's one of the leads in Fear the Walking Dead for the last 5 years. He's the sheriff in Robert Redford, with Robert Redford, the Milagro Beanfield War.
Yeah, he's been around for
this
a
guy's
long
been
time.
around forever.
Yeah.
Amazing actor. The blonde, Catherine Irby, 11 seasons as the lead with Vincent D'Onofrio in Law and Order, Criminal Intent.
She was at Steppenwolf when I was there.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
she's a great actor.
Oh, and she's such an amazing person too.
Yeah.
Kathy Curtin, kind of the evil lady in there. She was on Orange is the New Black for like 5 seasons as the one of the main, guards there. The cast is phenomenal. Luba Mason's in there. I mean, it's just incredible. And it was so much fun working with these people. But yeah, there's a very distinct message in there.
Yeah.
And, they go to this small town and they're all political activists promoting the Democratic option for the campaign. Very similar to what just happened with our former president. And the interesting is, there's scenes in here that reference toilet paper. I'm not kidding you.
Really?
And Tanya wrote this play a year before COVID even happened.
Isn't that wild? This seems like a genre now, like horror films that deal with racism. Seems like a kind of a trend right now. And it seems like this film fits right in there.
The reality is, we're Caucasian. And with that comes the privilege that we have not experienced all of these hardships and horrors that, people of color have to deal with and live through and experience their whole lives.
Yeah.
And, when you see the picture in that movie of that sign that was up there, everything that she wrote in that movie was based on an actual event that happened.
Really?
Okay. It was.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is one of the people, this was filmed in upstate New York, but it was supposed to be Virginia. So it was a very small, quaint little quiet town called North Chatham. There's no sidewalks. You walk on the side of the road. There's one library, the one doctor's office. Like, it's literally like that. It's a beautiful town.
Yeah.
And the people there are amazing. And most of them are actually Democrat. It's very conservative. But when people were driving by, seeing, even though they knew there was a film crew, the town's so small, everybody knew there was a film crew in town. People were outraged at that sign and stopping at the end of the road during film. You need to take that sign down. That doesn't go here. That's not what we do here in North Chatham.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But the county right outside of it, interestingly enough, had their own sign the week that Trump was released from his role as president.
Yeah.
And some other people in that county next door created their own sign that was twice as big.
Jeez.
And it had some similar concerns on the sign.
Racist
in
concerns.
2021. Yeah. And they put it up there because they were not thrilled about the fact that a vice president was half Indian and half African American.
Yeah, this stuff is going on, and a lot of times we don't see it, but we're seeing it more and more. And when you see like a horror film like this, sometimes you're like, well, why are they pressing so hard on this button? But the fact is, they're trying to get their point across in a film about something that is happening every day, every minute, every hour, and it's hard to watch sometimes because it's like, you don't want to believe that. You don't want to believe it.
Absolutely. And a lot of us were raised in areas where we weren't dealing with issues like that, or we went, to school and things like that. So it catches us off guard as well, because, I was very fortunate, raised in a family with my mom and dad. It's all about love everybody, treat everybody, respect everybody the same. because we're no different. It doesn't matter your race, your religion, your sexual preference. None of that mattered to my parents or to anybody in our family because of that.
Yeah.
And I thought everybody was the same.
Yeah.
Right. But, it's the way it goes. So I think it's important to have the conversations in order for the potential for change.
Yeah.
And movies and TV shows. And
in all genres of films too, whether it be comedy or horror or drama, to have these kind of discussions, even if they're super provocative, like you might think it's like an extreme. It's really good to start these conversations, I think.
Absolutely. The conversation is the beginning of the change, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And if that comes from film, great.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the times it doesn't come from just a bunch of people sitting around at the coffee shop.
I feel like entertainment, as entertainers, we have a responsibility to get messages out there that affect positive change, regardless of what the genre is, regardless of obviously we have to be concerned about the business and how much money things will make, but we should always look for a way, even if it means integrating more people into the crew or at every level of filmmaking, maybe, just always to have an eye towards what kind of a positive message am I putting out, or how am I helping to integrate society in a better way?
Absolutely. And that is what we are seeing right now, from every department on every set. How can we make this better? How can we implement change? Because there are people available, educated and trained and ready to go in all of these departments. Mm-hmm. They are. Yeah. That's the thing people didn't even realize. They're like, well, maybe we won't be able to find anybody. No, that's not the case.
It's not the case.
They've already been there. They're already trained, educated, ready to go, and have experience. So you can hire them.
Yeah. And if people didn't have the kind of opportunity that maybe we need to provide more opportunities for people that are maybe in less advantaged areas. And I think we can do that through internships and things like that on film sets. And my wife has a really good idea about this that she's been talking about as well, integrating people. There's also things like homeboy industries. I don't know if you've ever heard of them, but they take people that have been in gangs and then they help them get jobs. Nothing stops a bullet like a job. So so we got to always think in that way, I think.
I've donated my old suits to Homeboy Industries.
Did you? I run their, they have a run once a year. I didn't do it this year because it was COVID, but
all right. I didn't do anything last year, but 2 years ago, somebody reached out to me and asked me if I had any suits for job interviews, and I gave them 3 of my old suits.
Yeah.
And I gave them the contact name of Ken, oh gosh, I forgot his last name. He runs Hope of the Valley Rescue Mission, which is a huge, charitable organization here in the Valley. And every year with Michael Leon Woolley, I helped produce the big show at the Ricardo Montalban Theater, 1,000-seat show, Broadway to the Rescue. And 100% of the proceeds go towards Hope of the Valley Rescue Mission. And they're the ones who created these pods that are in the Valley right now. There's one in Chatsworth, there's one in North Hollywood, there's one in Granada Hills. And so the homeless people that are stuck underneath the overpass or in the woods here off of the freeways can actually go and have a little mini house, a little section with their own bathroom, a place, that's dry and safe. And there's counseling there, and there's food provided, and there's a hot shower. And he's set up in 3 abandoned old warehouses, these locations now of sanctuary for homeless. And each one, fits like 1,000 people. So, the challenge is getting some of them to actually want to go there.
Yeah.
Apparently, which never occurred to me, but once they get there, they're like, oh, actually, you're going to leave me alone and let me live my life. And I get to have a place with shelter and a shower and food and medical attention if I need it and counseling all in the same place. And I have like my own private space because they're all like mini little sheds,
Yeah.
And so it's a pretty amazing place. So check it out. Hope of the Valley.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess I don't think we're going to do the contest today because this has been such an interesting conversation with you, and I'll save that for another day. But thanks so much, Jake, for being on the show. We never got a chance to talk about Dead Pilot Society. Could you talk about that for just a minute?
Yeah, of course. So listen, I started the Whitefire Theater Company, okay, with Brian Rasmussen. He's the artistic director at the theater. I always wanted to be part of a theater company, and I had been over the years, but it was never the experience I had hoped for. So I decided, finally at this point, I'm just going to create my own, with somebody like Brian Rasmussen, has experience and integrity and understands the concept of having fun along the way, right? And he was the perfect person for this. And we put it together, and we created these shows, which were 10 minutes in length, 10 per night in one show, 5 in Act 1, 5 in Act 2, a little break in the middle. And we created it for up-and-coming actors to come in and be part of the process along the way. So we all read the scripts together. We did the casting together. We did the rehearsals together. And we put the production together on stage, okay? So it was like 12 weeks of rehearsal, followed by 6 weeks of show. Well, on Tuesday nights, we put them up, which was the slowest night at the theater.
Yeah.
And we sold out 99 seats every Tuesday night.
Yeah.
So we were already kind of steamrolling in a positive way and creating this great tribe of community of actors, and everybody felt appreciated and respected and understood and validated, and word of mouth was going crazy. Yeah. So I would invite special guests to come and see the shows. So I would reach out to casting people I worked with, producers, directors I knew, writers, casting managers, agents, and they would come and see the show. I'd say, hey, I'll give you a free glass of wine, a beer, whatever you want.
What do you think was the big, what do you think was the thing that drew them there? Because in LA theater, it's so hard to get people to come.
It is, but they could see approximately 20 actors in an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And each play was only 10 minutes long.
Yeah.
So if you didn't like the play, it was over in 10 minutes.
There'd be another one. You don't like this play? There's another one coming along.
Yes, and they were all comedy.
Yeah.
So you didn't have to cry.
Yeah.
There was no crying allowed. So, it was fun. Hey, I get a free glass of wine. I get to meet 20 actors in an hour and a half. I get to laugh my ass off. This is great. So those special guests that were coming in to see and support the up-and-coming actors, the writers and the directors were coming to me and saying, listen, I created this TV show. I created this TV show, Hang Time, and wrote on Full House, and I wrote on Wings, and I wrote on Cheers, and I wrote on MASH, and I wrote on, Becker, and I wrote, I could write a 10-minute play for you.
That's so cool.
And I was like, wait a minute. Bingo.
Yeah.
Let's do the same concept, but if we've got Emmy Award-winning TV writers, I can grab a bunch of my more well-known actor friends who have more experience, right, and who are dying to get back on stage but don't have the time because they're on TV shows and raising families. I could do this once a week. If we're doing this Tuesday night with the theater company, we could do Wednesday night with Dead Pilot Society or Hollywood Shorts, on Thursday night. And we could do an upscaled version with Emmy Award-winning TV writers writing the 10-minute plays and or directing them, which gave them a lot of fun because they'd never directed a play before.
Plus, they could probably just do it where they could rehearse wherever it was convenient for them.
And they could do it at their homes, and they could do it at the theater. Brian Rasmussen was very accommodating with, daytime and late night availability, whatever the theater had.
And Brian's the guy who runs the Whitefire Theater, right?
Brian Rasmussen is the artistic director at the Whitefire Theater.
Also an actor.
For almost 15 years now. Yeah. And so, the key elements were all together, and we had the passion and the drive and the interest to care about the actors along the way and to show the appreciation and respect to these amazing TV writers who wanted to direct.
Yeah.
Right. So this gave me the opportunity. And of course, these shows were packed on Wednesday and Thursday nights too, because you've got Emmy Award-winning TV writers who are bringing their writer friends, their director friends, their actor friends, their producer friends to come and see their
like a lot of fun.
Right.
Yeah.
And then that begat the next one, which was Dead Pilot Society. So then we turned it into 3 30-minute TV pilots live on stage.
And they're actual pilots that maybe didn't go, they never got greenlit, or they never...
Exactly. So the writer had already been paid and optioned the script from the studio and had it re-released back to them.
Yeah.
Because it never went anywhere. So they already made their money. and they never got to see their dream, their hope to fruition.
Yeah.
I said, well, I can do that if you're willing to provide the script. We could put this live on stage as a 30-minute TV pilot, and you invite all the studio executives back to see it again, and I'll fill it with recognizable actors, bigger names. We got Meg Cavanaugh, from League of Their Own, and Carolyn Hennessy from General Hospital, and Charlene Tilton jumped in on one from Dallas. And we got all these amazing recognizable actors to come in and do these TV pilots live on stage, because once a week commitment was easy.
That's so
right?
cool. Yeah.
And they had fun working together.
I love the name too. I mean, the name, it really sells it too.
Yes.
Dead Pilots Society.
Yes. The name was important because they were TV pilots, but they were dead. They were not, but now we were putting them live on stage.
Yeah.
So we were giving them the opportunity. And in some of the cases, a lot of these TV writers wound up directing the pieces as well, along with Brian Rasmussen, and Moosey Dreyer was another one who directed a lot of these. Amazing guy, really great actor and writer and director and voiceover artist as well. And so everybody was jumping in there and having fun and doing something a little bit different than they normally would do. I had to be careful to attract the right actors by giving them the parts that they normally were not playing on TV shows. Right?
Yeah, right.
So like Charlie
have them play like a villain if they're like, have Tom Hanks play a villain or whatever.
Exactly. Or the creeper at the college reunion, or the person who was in the wheelchair but wasn't really handicapped. All kinds of weird, strange characters, because most of these Emmy Award-winning TV writers wrote comedies. So they were brilliant writers with amazing scripts.
Yeah.
And so, when you hand it out to some of these actors, they're like, I don't know if I have time for a play once. Oh, wait, what's this? What? Oh. Right? And then you get somebody like Kimmy Robertson, is so amazing from Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
And she has a voice, and it's really high like this, and that's how she's famous, and she does like Disney voiceovers. And then all of a sudden I'm reading a script about a has-been prostitute in Vegas. And I'm like, it's Kimmy Robertson. We can get her. And they're like, you can get Kimmy Robertson? And I'm like, yeah. And then I'm like, well, who are you going to get for the manager with the big glasses and the bad eye?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, how about Bill Cott? Because he was on Wizards of Waverly Place for 7 years as the principal, and he does wacky characters. And like, yeah. That's
that
great.
Sounds like so much fun.
Hopefully
this will come back. Do you think it'll come back?
I would love to.
Yeah.
I'm really curious to see what's going to happen in the theater world and how long it's going to take to fill 99 seats again with people who have been double vaccinated and feel comfortable enough to be around other people in close quarters to sit and enjoy a show for a couple of hours. It's a big challenge.
That is a big challenge. You're right. I didn't even think about that with the 99 seat theaters. It's just, you could only put half of that is not going to be much of an audience.
Right. And you got to make money or the theater can't stay open and the show can't go on. It doesn't have to be big money. There's really
it's got to pay the rent.
Theater. But to even potentially break even so that everybody walks away with a great experience and something for their resume and a networking opportunity and the love of their craft. Yeah. That's an accomplishment, right?
It is. Hey, the background here is a saloon. I think you and I should do a Western. I think both of us should be cast in a Western. I don't know if you've ever done a Western before, but I think that would be fun.
I did not. I played a forest ranger.
Did you?
In a horror flick that has still not been released called Mojave Mile.
Wow. Well, that's almost to cowboy. Forest ranger.
Yeah, because I had the hat.
Yeah.
I had.
It's pretty close.
I didn't shave for about 10 weeks.
Yeah.
And I smoked a lot of cigarettes.
Did you? Oh my God.
Which I thought was odd for the forest ranger.
Yeah, it seems not very Smokey Bear of him.
Yeah, when you see the movie, you'll realize I don't do what I'm supposed to do anyway throughout the movie. Thank you.
Yeah. A Scooby-Doo. Sounds like a Scooby-Doo episode to me.
It's a darker version of Scooby-Doo.
Yeah. Oh, the world needs darker versions of Scooby-Doo, for sure. All right, so we're going to go into the dance break here. I've got a band here called Harbor Party. They're going to play a Loggins and Messina song. I generally kind of try to dance, but today is a little bit, the song is a little bit slow. So we'll just kind of experience it, and then we'll say goodbye to everybody. And this, thanks so much, Jake, for being on the show. I really appreciate this. And you're super fun.
Welcome. Thanks for having me. I appreciate you.
All right, cool. Here we go, dance break. This is a band called Harbor Party. They're singing a little mellow song here for a Wednesday. It's called Danny's Song. I don't know if you know this song, but you'll know it when you hear it.
Okay.
So these are some folks. I don't know where they are, but they were very nice of them to allow us to play this song. I try to play covers of songs.
People smile and tell me I'm the lucky one.
You know the song?
I do.
And we've just begun.
Thanks
I'm
everybody for
gonna
being
have
here.
a son.
Jesky.
He will
That's
be
your new
like
nickname.
him and me, as free as a dove. Conceived
Okay, everybody.
in
I expect
love.
everybody out there to be dancing.
Sun is
because
gonna
we're just
shine
kind
above.
of, swaying here.
Even though we ain't got money, I'm so in love with you, honey, and everything will bring a change.
Thanks, Kate, for joining us here. Share this around to all your actor friends, because
In the morning when I
these actors, they need to
bring a
know what's
tear
going
of joy
on.
to my
Okay?
eyes and tell me
These darn actors.
everything
One of our listeners is going to sleep because it's not an upbeat enough song.
Pisces Virgo rising is a
Charles says
very good
thanks.
sign.
Yeah.
Thanks, Charles.
Strong and kind,
Okay, I'll
and the little boy
let
is
them do the
mine.
singing. I'm gonna be quiet.
Now I see a family where there once was none. Now we've just begun. Yeah, we're gonna fly to the sun.
I like that big acoustic bass.
Even though we ain't got money, I'm so in love with you, honey, and everything will bring a change.
Ben is going back to sleep. He's in Australia. Good night, Ben.
In the morning when I rise, I bring a tear of joy to my eyes.
Thanks, everybody. This Friday, we're going to have Cynthia Levin on the show. Cynthia Levin, that's how you pronounce her name. And she's a hilarious comedian. And check out Jake's new movie, Red Pill, wherever you can find it.
Film festivals everywhere right now, and
Cool. Right on. All right.
I think I'm on Lone Star tonight. Actually, Lone Star
tonight?
911.
Lone Star?
I think it's on tonight. I just found out this morning. Somebody sent me a text and said, "I think your episode of Lone Star 911 is going to be on tonight."
Oh, that's awesome. So check him out
Yeah.
on Lone Star, hopefully tonight. Thanks, Jake. Next time we'll have some Skinner that we can really dance. Yeah, next time, Leonard Skinner, for sure.
I'm trying to figure out who
And if
originally
you
sang
find
this
she
song.
helps your mind, but it takes
this song?
her home.
Yeah.
This one's Loggins
Don't
and
you
Messina.
live alone.
You know Kenny Loggins?
Try to
Gotta
learn
cut
what
loose,
lovers
cut loose.
own.
Now I'm singing over the singing.
Even though we ain't
All right, see you all
got
later.
money,
This has been
I'm so
Lunch
in love
Therapy.
with you, honey, and